doing?
I'm praying for another Bills victory.
Oh, that's a good idea. Switch over. Okay, that's a good idea. All right.
Sweet baby Jesus. Another Bills victory.
Just
please.
one more.
Not one more. This
A lot of them.
Welcome to Cuppa Joe.
And Tea with Melissa. How are you doing today?
Doing good. I
Yeah?
mean, well, you just found me in the chapel, so I mean,
Well,
yeah, you can see we're not in our regular.
cool spot with all the flags and the patriotic
background.
Right.
But we're in the chapel, so
A little more quiet, a little more reserved, less colorful. Help us, Sandy! Come help us! Come help us!
even though I think Jesus appreciates our sense of humor.
He totally does. And we're going to ask. We're going to see if maybe...
Yeah, we need to ask.
Let's ask. If he thinks that, if he has a sense of humor, like we know he does, or they do, or she does, or you, whoever you believe in has to have a sense of humor because...
Look at us.
Look at us.
Look at us. Okay, so as you can see, we're in the chapel today. We're bringing Chaplain Ferris on to have a nice discussion.
Yep.
We'll talk about Chaplain's Week.
All the services they offer here. And
Yeah, it should be good. It should be interesting.
Yeah.
And we should talk about the game show.
The game show's going good.
The trivia game show is, thank you everybody. You're making it a lot of fun. And I'm so glad to see everybody's being very competitive. And
I didn't think it was going to be this cool, so
people are having fun with it.
They are. Because
I'm
I'm not real smart with knowledge like that, trivia stuff. It's just kind of trivial. I don't have room.
I know, but if they watch the podcast, that's like a really good bonus points on there.
Right, there's bonuses.
And then if you're watching, if there's a tie, and the tiebreaker question is going to be a podcast question. For sure. So
mostly what amount of sweat comes off Melissa's face during a podcast, because I get so hot in here, I get so nervous.
I'm going to count the drips. So
drips,
yes.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
It's like that Roseanne.
Just like, it's a little bit of sweat.
The young folks don't even know what we're talking about.
Probably not. Roseanne,
you know what I'm thinking about while we're sitting
What?
here? Do you remember Church Chat?
Now it's time for Church Chat.
Oh my gosh.
I used to do an impersonation of the church lady.
You did?
I don't know if I could do it anymore.
I bet if you did it in the front of the chapel, I would videotape you.
I don't know, but I might get struck by lightning.
The chaplain's not in here right now.
Here we
He
go.
told
Ready?
us we could behave.
Are you ready? Isn't that special? Oh, the things I do to make you guys laugh. It's just...
It's so special. The church lady. Satan's in
I don't
the
do it as good as I
church.
did when I was a kid.
Oh, no, but that's funny.
Oh, it's warm in here.
Hey, let's talk about the holiday activities that are coming up, because I
Okay.
think that's going to be right around the corner. We want to make
And
sure
we're all
everybody
involved
knows.
in that. I mean, the game show
are.
came as a part of that.
Yeah.
Is one of the ideas.
Yep, so we have our memorial tree.
Yes.
And then the outside of the building is going to be extremely decorated this year. I think that's always good. We'll have the contests in each floor, holiday contest of how well you decorate your floor, your door, or whatever. I know that's coming. There's just a lot of things that you can get involved in. So make sure you read the flyer that we'll put up here.
And the dose.
And the dose, always the dose. And then anything you have that you may want to have us do next year, we're always open to other suggestions as well. So.
Yeah, you should really join the committee if you're interested in helping out, because we have a lot of fun in the meetings. There's a lot of kidding around that goes on, and
it's a good
fun
service.
Group.
It's a good
there's
back.
And you've missed some stuff that they're planning. There's cookie decorating. Plus there's the employee lunch dinner.
Yep.
Everybody will get
recognition dinner. Thank you for being here on holiday.
Right, and it's going to be special. It's going to, I don't want to say special, but it's special. Yeah,
it is special.
Absolutely.
It's a holiday extravaganza. And I heard that if you were here last year during the snow blizzard, that you're going to get your own cookie tray. Is that true?
No.
Oh. I'm suggesting that.
Wishful thinking. Listen, you guys have milked your 15
We
minutes of fame.
milked it hard.
Just because you got stuck here in the building.
Because we couldn't drive in a blizzard. I tried to get home. So anyhow, so that is not going to happen. So do not look for your cookies. However, I think it's going to be a really good year.
It's going to be a good year.
And
It's going to be a lot of fun. And it's planned out over a long period of time, so it's not going to be like, just a couple days and we're done. So look for that.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
And I think that's probably about it. We're just really looking forward to talking to the chaplain today.
There he is.
Hey!
So we have Chaplain Ferris joining us today. He's the chief chaplain here at the Western New York VA Medical Center. Of course, it's across our whole Western New York area.
Yep.
Correct?
Everywhere he goes.
Sounds big, doesn't it? But
It does.
Batavia, Buffalo, outpatient clinics, as needed.
Olean.
That's a little bit of a drive, yeah.
But I bet you'll
It's-
go there if you're needed.
Yes.
Does Olean have a chaplain?
That's true.
Chaplain?
No, it's just us here.
Okay.
In fact,
That's a big area to cover.
we borrow from Peter to pay Paul, so to speak. So, what Batavia gets covered is from Buffalo. Everybody's concentrated in Buffalo,
Oh, okay.
chaplain-wise. But anyway,
That's a good biblical
more than you
joke.
cared to know. Yeah, maybe so.
And
right.
I'm warning you now. I know
Okay.
you've watched the podcast, so you know we're a little
Yes,
Edgy.
loopy.
Oh,
loopy,
loopy.
edgy,
We'll
goofy.
go with what it is.
We've been called nastier things.
But we will get right to business here. So, what is the mission of the VA chaplain service?
Well, from the National Chaplain Service, we have a director. It's all the chaplains. And for anybody used to military, the various services that would have their chief of chaplains. So our director is like that, and they're there to train, educate, and support chaplains in the field. So they have this grand mission, and I'll shorten it for you because it's quite a mouthful, but in essence, chaplains provide revolutionary spiritual care to maximize health outcomes of veterans.
I like that.
That word revolutionary is kind of
It is. I'm glad you brought that up.
interesting.
It is. It doesn't mean earth-shattering necessarily, like jumping over the moon. It can be day-to-day things that day-to-day.
Get out of here.
That was, just so you know, the police were looking for Joe.
I think I should make him come
and
in
they
here.
just checked the door.
Okay.
Talk about revolutionary.
Yeah.
So chaplain,
Mhm.
that word revolutionary. Interesting
Yeah,
word.
It is. It doesn't mean jump over the moon per se. The next shiny thing. Not that. It could just be maybe there's a patient in a room that's on the edge, and staff may call on a chaplain, or maybe just during normal rounds, chaplain that sees that patient, and they're just calm, and maybe it's noticed by staff. Hey, this patient is easier to care for. That's revolutionary, but revolutionary maybe more in the sense of it made a change in the patient's life, a different perspective, but more so in terms of maybe better understanding of their relationship with their faith, God.
There you go.
So what is the main function of chaplains in a healthcare setting? What do they do?
Okay, all right. Well, there's 4 key areas anyway. We're ordained by, endorsed by our respective faith groups as clergy. So, right away you're thinking, oh, okay, worship services, that's it. Rites, sacraments, ordinances. In a healthcare setting, not so much. I was looking through some old photos in the 80s, and there's like 11 stafflins on on staff. We don't have that many now.
Wow, that's incredible.
And you see a picture like this. We're sitting back here in the back of the chapel, and there's a chaplain conducting a worship service, and there's heads in the pews, and that you don't see as much anymore. So largely it's patient to patient, bedside to bedside, and providing that what we'd call personal delivery of what I just said: worship, sacraments, ordinance, right? Spiritual care, counseling, spiritual counseling, and then groups, spirituality groups on 10th floor over in Batavia, the domiciliaries, PTSD clinic. That's kind of the bread and butter.
So what religions do our chaplains cover here, specifically in Western New York? Is it basically Christian?
It is. I mean, these signs on the chaplain's doors in the 3D wing are old. We went from, Title V to this hybrid 38. So that, for example, and I'm giving you a long answer, if you go to USA Jobs and if you're interested and if you thought you met the qualifications or whatever to apply for a chaplain position, you could find, hey, somebody's looking for a Jewish chaplain, Catholic chaplain, Protestant chaplain. That is no more. It's just chaplain, period.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that we're not, a rabbi, a priest, or a minister. We are, but so technically the doors on our hallway, and when I got here, I was like, you need to get rid of that. You got on this door is Protestant chaplain, this door is Catholic chaplain. It should just say chaplain service, which they do on the wall. But to your point, we have one priest and 3 Protestants. So right now we have 4 chaplains, myself included. That's the makeup of our chaplain team. If a patient has a particular need, we maybe try to link up with community resources. We've actually called in an imam from the community.
There you go.
Who was agreed to come in and meet with a patient that had requested.
That's great. They should, though.
Yeah.
Right. That is good. So you mentioned having 11 at one time. So how many are there now?
Oh,
Did you say 4?
Yeah, there's 4 now. We
4,
are in the market. We're recruiting for 2 positions, one full-time position, one intermittent, basically on call or as needed type.
So you have to take call? Or do you take call, or do you say, if you need me, call me, I'm not going to carry a phone?
In fact, I've just updated some things because the way it works now is if you need a chaplain after business hours, you call the switchboard and then they have all our numbers. The problem with that is you can only patch through one call. So if a call gets missed or goes to voicemail, then they got to call the switchboard back and say, hey, he didn't pick up, call the next one on the list.
Okay.
So what we've done and we're in the process of doing is a
chaplain on duty?
A reference list for the floors to have our numbers and more specifically to cut the middleman, like if they call me first. What if they need a priest? Well, why don't you just call a priest first and skip the
Exactly. That's what I was wondering about.
So that's what we're
good.
in the process of doing, is providing that extra layer for them to call a chaplain when
I like that.
after
I
hours.
worked night shift a long time, so I appreciate the late night calls and making sure we have somebody else.
What would be do you think, your favorite revolutionary story with one of our patients, or many? I'm sure you have.
Revolutionary story. Okay, well, I'll give you one I just heard today from one of our chaplains. He works with the substance abuse the patients up on the 10th floor, has a spirituality group every week. Afterwards, what he's done is it's tailored to be general, that group. And then, but what he does and I think this is a good initiative on his part, says if anybody's interested in going more of a deep dive, he's got this recovery Bible, and they can stay and go through the principles in that Bible. So he has a topic that he goes with, generally speaking, but if you want something more faith specific, he takes them through that recovery Bible. But so what he did was he just shared with me today. It doesn't happen often, but and you never know week to week. The group that he had today, they seemed more engaged, and then one person that he thought would be the last person to ask for anything spiritually related, kind of, I think, stayed back after and said, can you tell me more about God? And it's like, that's sort of
that's really good.
Just the right moment, and that indeed is orchestrated by God, I think. So
there you go.
It's a blessing to those asking, and we're here to provide for them, and certainly encouraging to the chaplain that's what we live for.
It's funny. The lowest point in your life, that's when you find God.
That's true.
It's interesting.
Mhm.
So, go ahead, Melissa. I'm sorry, I was going to cut you off.
No, you. I was just wondering, is there a chaplain's week?
Oh yeah,
When is
Spiritual
that?
Care Week, they call it.
Okay, Spiritual Care. Is it-
October 22 to 28.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll have highlighted a few days, like on one day of the week, we'll have something down, a table display
Okay.
behind Starbucks like you see others
Right.
do. And then over here, third floor outside of Freedom Hall, later that week, cake cutting ceremony, some remarks
Good.
from some
You
of the
won't have
leadership.
Terry's sword this year. That's a shame.
That's true. I
Oh.
have to bring out my rusty saber. That's a terrible confession, isn't it?
Right.
We'll make
Soldier
sure,
to have
we'll make
a
sure you have
rusty sword.
popcorn.
Yeah, Joe.
boy.
Joe has a popcorn machine, so we'll have to have popcorn too.
We do. We,
Yeah.
we
Maybe
had
a
it last
nut,
week.
maybe a nut mix, party mix.
There you
something
go.
like that.
There we go. I like that.
I think, well, it's interesting that you had time to share with us today, and the fact that we're in the chapel doing this. I think it's fitting because
Yes.
typically
right
we're in
behind the
Freedom
Ford
Hall,
Chaplain's,
and that's right,
Ford Chaplain's poster.
for Men of
Yes,
Faith. So
Yes.
So, knowing who we are, I'm going somewhere with this question.
Oh,
So I'm
okay,
going to ask
okay.
you:
Huh.
Have you seen the new series, The Chosen?
No.
You haven't. So
I'm quite familiar with it, but I have not. Maybe
so I'm
trailers or
going
something.
somewhere with this.
Yes.
So I've watched it. I've been watching it, and I watch it with my mom. And the writers have portrayed Jesus as having a sense of humor, and knowing who we are,
Right.
and how I don't want to say twisted.
occasionally we're funny.
Occasionally.
Just a
What do you
few
think
times.
about God and humor? About
I would say we can probably find some in which there was some passages in the Gospels where there are. But one thing that clearly comes to mind is not humor, but it could be sarcasm. Like when he's in debates with the religious scholars and they're trying to trap him
like
with
calling
their
out,
question.
writing in
And,
the sand and everything, their sins.
Yeah,
That's kind of humorous too, to think,
It's-
I'll show you. I'm
it's
gonna
quite
write your sin
it's quite
right there.
convicting. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Our little.
I mean, and then you
Priest
think about
makes it
God,
funny.
the platypus. I mean, that he obviously has a sense of humor. He created the platypus. I mean,
What a
that's
great
one.
animal.
That's one.
Things are very entertaining.
Well, thanks for taking time out of your
Certainly.
busy day. And
Yeah.
we've been trying to get you on since we started. You were
Yeah.
one of the first people that we had said you're on the list.
Oh,
And here we
wonderful.
are at episode
Yeah,
9,
it's
and
great.
so happy to have you.
So you're in the
Likewise.
top 10 always. So.
So if anybody
And
needs
each podcast
to reach
keeps getting
you,
better, yeah.
or
Oh, there he goes.
to reach the chaplains that
Mhm.
are employees, they have something come up, or
Mhm.
they want to schedule something with you, what's the best way to reach you? Email, Teams?
Yeah, those are probably the easiest because if you knock on the door, we might be up on floors or have you. That probably is best way.
Okay.
All right.
I don't
Very
We
good.
always
yes.
know that he did say that the operator has their number after hours.
That's
so there you
true.
go.
That's true.
So there's that.
Well, we don't want to open that door. That might
All
be
right,
bother.
don't call him. Cut that
unless
out.
you need him. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
So, I mean, that was nice having the chaplain on the podcast.
It was.
I was surprised. I thought, it's going to be the chaplain.
Yeah,
Well,
he
it
was
was great.
entertaining.
It's very
He had a
entertaining.
joke. Any chaplain that tells a joke, I'm in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll pay more attention.
I have to tell you, the sense of humor is the best medicine you could ever have anyways.
Yeah.
Every time I've been sick or had surgery,
Yep.
my sense of humor has always gotten me through.
Right. I will say, as a nurse who's worked in the hospital on the floor and at the bedside, there is nothing better than a chaplain coming and talking to your patient anytime, because it calms them. They're like, they can be restless and agitated and everything, and you're like, would you like to see a chaplain? And it's just like, I don't know what that is about, but that's good. It's heavenly divine, I guess. I don't know. Divinity.
Yeah, and it was an interesting conversation that we had too, because I didn't expect to get spiritual like with the conversation, but we did a little
Yeah.
bit. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was good. So so our next podcast will be towards Turkey Day, towards Thanksgiving,
Oh, yeah.
probably week of Thanksgiving.
Thursday.
I guess we'll talk more about
You're going to wear that turkey costume.
maybe.
Okay, I'm going to be the pilgrim. Just kidding. Pilgrim. I have an outfit like this. I'll be a pilgrim.
So thanks for joining us. It's always nice having you with us, and I think we're getting better and better with our
Yeah, I think
podcast.
it's getting more entertaining as we jive more. So just remember to always be safe,
And be kind.
and we'll see you next time.